In the middle of the 19th century, the British economy was booming. Factories in the Midlands were churning out manufactured goods and pulling up coal, and they desperately needed to move those products south to the docks at Southampton for export. The problem was geography and corporate monopolies. The major railway companies controlled the tracks, forcing freight to take massive, expensive detours just to reach the water. To bypass the monopolies, a group of investors proposed the Didcot, Newbury, and Southampton Railway. The plan was highly speculative, but simple. Avoid the congested hubs by carving a straight line south, right through the chalk hills of the Berkshire Downs. But the investors ran out of money almost immediately. Construction stopped dead, leaving them with a stunted 17-mile stretch of local track reaching only as far as Newbury. That financial collapse sealed the railway's fate. Because it never reached the sea, it never became a massive industrial corridor. Instead, it became the sole connection to the outside world for several highly isolated farming villages. The journey started at Didcot Station under heavy operational tension. The DNSNR owned the trains, but they had to run on tracks owned by their bitter corporate rival, the Great Western Railway. Great Western squeezed the smaller company, refusing them a main-through platform, forcing the Didcot trains to operate out of an awkward, east-facing dead-end bay. As soon as the trains left the junction, they had to climb straight into the Berkshire Downs, a vast, unpopulated expanse of steep chalk ridges. Right in the middle of these empty hills sat Churn Halt. It was a train station completely severed from the standard road network. You couldn't drive there. The only access was via unpaved sheet paths. It functioned as a strict request stop. The train only pulled over with advance notice, and it existed almost exclusively to drop off soldiers for summer rifle practice. The investors had promised their shareholders a roaring trade in industrial coal. In reality, they were hauling target shooters and shepherds. Moving further south to Compton, the picture shifted. This was the largest and busiest hub on the northern stretch of the track. Compton ran on a hyper-local economy. The siding handled heavy coal shipments for Baker's Iron Foundry, while a specialized bay platform was built specifically to load racehorses from the nearby East Ilsley training yards. Even with reliable local traffic, Great Western treated the route poorly, relegating their oldest, most outdated tank engines to haul freight along this branch. That quiet routine broke entirely during the Second World War. The military realized this obscure, hidden route was the perfect strategic corridor to secretly move massive munitions and fuel down to the southern coast. To the national railway bosses, this track was a corporate nuisance. But to the military and to the downland villages, it was an absolute necessity. Once the war ended, the military traffic vanished. As automobiles became common, the route lost its passengers, and the cost of maintaining aging Victorian infrastructure through the chalk hills became a severe financial burden. In 1962, the northern section closed to passengers entirely. This was a death blow dealt so early it predated the notorious Beeching Report that would eventually gut the rest of the British railway network. The trains were gone, but the highly efficient, flat corridor they had carved through the hills remained incredibly valuable real estate. Transport planners consumed large sections of the abandoned trackbed to construct the A34 trunk road, physically replacing the Victorian Railway with a modern high-speed highway. When planners tried to push that highway expansion past Newbury in the 1990s, the paving of this specific railway corridor sparked intense, organized environmental pushback, with activists occupying the old-growth trees to block the bulldozers. But the pavement didn't swallow everything. Between Hermitage and Hampstead Norreys, you can walk or cycle the Ealing Way, a stretch of the surviving trackbed that serves as a quiet, green trail through the woods. And back at Didcot, a living museum preserves the physical architecture of the line, maintaining the exact wooden buildings, signals, and aesthetic of those lost rural halts. The investors who set out to dominate the Midlands export market lost their money, but the trench they cut through the Berkshire Downs ended up dictating exactly where modern highways and community trails would run for the next century.